For 30 years, my mom believed a lie about sleep. She thought getting older meant sleeping less, that waking up tired was just part of the deal. She accepted the aches, the brain fog, the feeling that she was running on empty as her new normal. Her doctor would ask how she was sleeping, and she'd just shrug. "As well as can be expected," she'd say. It was a phrase she'd heard other seniors use, so she used it too. I didn't realize she was participating in her own decline. The truth is, she was following advice that was not just wrong, but was actively making her sicker. This is the story of how we discovered that better sleep wasn't a luxury for her age. It was the missing key to her health. And it started by questioning everything she thought she knew. The breaking point came after a simple fall in her kitchen. She was reaching for a cup, lost her balance, and landed hard on the floor. Nothing was broken, but the shock of it stayed with her. In that moment on the linoleum, she looked incredibly fragile. I rushed over, my face full of that worried look I'd seen too often lately. I said, "Mom, you're exhausted. You need to rest." But she was in bed for 7, sometimes 8 hours a night. That's when the real fear set in for both of us. If she was doing everything right and still felt this bad, what was wrong with her? She believed the myths because they were convenient. They gave her an excuse. They told her that fatigue was inevitable, a side effect of a long life. It was easier to blame her age than to admit she might be doing something wrong. That fall was her call to adventure, whether she wanted it or not. The first myth she had to dismantle was the most basic one, the magic number 8. We've all heard it our entire lives, get 8 hours of sleep. So she did. She'd go to bed at 10 and get up at 6, watching the clock to make sure she hit that target. But she was missing the entire point. For seniors, it's not about the quantity of sleep, it's about the quality. Her sleep was fragmented. She'd wake up 5-6 times a night to use the bathroom or for no reason at all, and drift back into a light, unsatisfying sleep. She was getting 8 hours of time in bed, but maybe only 4 or 5 hours of actual restorative sleep. The real goal isn't a number on a clock. It's about cycling through the deep sleep stages where your body repairs itself and your brain clears out toxins. She was so focused on the hours that she ignored how she felt when she woke up, which was always tired. Chasing 8 hours became a stressful goal that actually made her sleep worse. This was a myth she loved. If she had a bad night during the week, she'd tell herself, "It's okay. I'll sleep in on Saturday." It felt like a sensible plan, like balancing a checkbook. But sleep debt doesn't work like financial debt. You can't just pay it back in a lump sum on the weekend. Research shows that the brain's need for sleep is a daily requirement. When you miss deep sleep one night, that loss is permanent. You can't go back and get it later. Trying to catch up by sleeping for 10 hours on a Saturday completely disrupts your circadian rhythm. It's like flying from New York to London every weekend and expecting your body to just adapt. You end up with what's called social jet lag, making it even harder to fall asleep at a normal time on Sunday night. So the cycle begins again. She was creating a roller coaster for her body. Sleep deprivation during the week, followed by a chaotic oversleep on the weekend. It left her more exhausted than if she'd just maintained a consistent, even if slightly shorter, schedule every single day. This might be the most dangerous myth of all, especially for seniors. For years, a small glass of wine before bed was her ritual. She thought it helped her unwind and drift off to sleep faster. And it did, initially. Alcohol is a sedative, so it knocks you out. But that's where the benefit ends. What happens after you fall asleep is the problem. As your body metabolizes the alcohol, it causes a rebound effect. It severely disrupts your sleep architecture, specifically blocking REM sleep, which is crucial for memory consolidation and mood regulation. So you might fall asleep quickly, but you'll spend the night bouncing between light sleep and wakefulness, never dipping into the deep, restorative stages. She'd wake up at 3 a.m. with her mind racing, dehydrated, and then struggle to get back to sleep. The next day, she'd feel groggy and forgetful, which she blamed on age, not on the wine. She was trading a quick fix for long-term recovery. Giving up her evening drink was one of the hardest but most impactful changes she made. The first few nights were rough, but within a week, she was waking up feeling truly refreshed for the first time in years. Just when she thought she was getting a handle on things, she ran into the next set of myths. And these were pushed by people who were supposedly trying to help. Myth number 4, that melatonin is a magic bullet for senior sleep. Worried about her using sleeping pills, I bought her a bottle of melatonin gummies. "It's natural, Mom," I said, and she took them faithfully, expecting them to solve her problems. What I didn't understand at that time is that melatonin is a timing hormone, not a sleeping pill. It tells the brain when it's time to sleep, not how to sleep. For seniors, their bodies often produce less melatonin naturally, so supplementing can help reset a confused clock, especially if dealt with jet lag or shift work. But it does nothing to improve the architecture of the sleep, the quality of those deep and REM stages. She was still waking up multiple times a night. She was just using the melatonin to fall back asleep a little faster. It was a band-aid on a much deeper issue. The real solution wasn't in a bottle. It was in fixing her sleep habits and environment. Which leads me directly to myth number 5, that naps ruin your sleep at night. She'd been told her whole life to avoid napping if she wanted to sleep well at night. So she'd fight through the afternoon slump, drinking cup after cup of tea just to stay awake, which of course made her nighttime sleep even worse. The truth for seniors is that a nap can be a powerful tool, but it has to be strategic. The key is timing and duration. A short 20 to 30-minute power nap in the early afternoon, before 3 p.m., can recharge you without digging into your nighttime sleep drive. It's a nap long enough to refresh you, but short enough to avoid deep sleep, so you wake up easily. What you want to avoid is the long 2-hour nap that starts at 5 p.m. That's a recipe for a sleepless night. She learned to listen to her body. If she felt that wave of fatigue around 1 or 2 p.m., she'd set a timer for 20 minutes and allow herself to rest without guilt. That short break made her more alert for the rest of the day and actually reduced the anxiety she felt about going to bed at night. She wasn't so desperately tired that she'd crash, which helped her sleep more soundly. This myth is a tough one because it sounds so strong, so disciplined. She had friends who would boast, "I've trained myself to only need 5 hours." They wore it like a badge of honor. And she tried. She thought if she just set her alarm earlier and forced herself out of bed, her body would eventually adapt. But you cannot train a biological need. Think of sleep like hunger. You can ignore your hunger cues for a while, but eventually, your body will force you to eat. With sleep, the consequences are just more insidious. When you chronically cut your sleep short, you're not becoming more efficient. You're accumulating a deficit that affects every system in your body. Your immune system weakens. Your cognitive function declines. Your risk for everything from heart disease to diabetes increases. For seniors, this is especially dangerous because our bodies are less resilient. That training wasn't making her stronger. It was slowly breaking down her health. The goal isn't to need less sleep. It's to get the right kind of sleep your body requires to function. Accepting that her body needed quality rest wasn't a sign of weakness. It was the smartest thing she could do for her long-term health. The final myth she had to confront was about her environment. She had been striving for absolute silence, getting frustrated by every creak of the house or distant car alarm. She'd lie there in the quiet, and her mind would amplify every little sound, keeping her awake. The problem wasn't the noise. It was the inconsistency of the noise. Complete silence can actually be unsettling. What she discovered is that our brains sleep better with a constant, low-level background sound that masks those unpredictable interruptions. It's called sound masking. She started using a simple white noise machine, and it was a game changer. The steady hum gave her brain something consistent to latch onto, drowning out the jarring sounds that would pull her out of sleep. It created a cocoon of sound. This led her to rethink her entire bedroom environment. She stopped focusing on silence and started focusing on comfort and darkness. She got blackout curtains to make the room truly dark, as even a small amount of light can disrupt melatonin production. She made sure her room was cool because your body temperature needs to drop to initiate sleep. She turned her bedroom from a place of anxiety back into a sanctuary for rest. The real fix wasn't a single pill, a magic number, or a drastic change. It was a shift in perspective. She stopped seeing sleep as something that was happening to her and started seeing it as something she could actively cultivate. The journey was about replacing those 7 myths with 7 new truths, focused on consistency, environment, and listening to her own body instead of outdated advice. Her first step, the one I want you to take tonight, is the simplest. Pick one thing. Don't try to change everything at once. Maybe it's setting a consistent wake-up time, even on weekends. Maybe it's ditching the evening nightcap. Or maybe it's just getting a fan for some white noise. Master that one change for a week. See how you feel. That small success will give you the confidence to tackle the next myth. Better sleep is possible at any age, but you have to stop believing the lies that are keeping you sick. Your health, your energy, and your future self will thank you for it. Subscribe for more practical ways to support your loved ones, and share this with someone who needs to hear this message today.